everybody, and welcome back to another episode of TV Time with Maggie. I'm Maggie.
I'm Sash.
And Sasha, we're here. This is our last episode of 2019.
The last episode of the decade.
Last episode of the decade. And we had a very hard time creating this episode because we're running down the list of our favorites, not only of this year, but of the decade.
Yeah, that was
so
hard.
it was tough. It was like we were on a mission to find. It wasn't just like the best shows, but the shows that we really enjoyed.
Yeah, shows that meant something to us, not just to the general population.
We've seen a lot of different outlets like TV Guide and other people create their own list. And I personally have not resonated with a lot of the shows that they would consider to be the best of the decade. So Sasha and I have our little notebooks here. We needed to create like a little list of everything. Yeah. But Sasha, let's start with the easiest one. What was your favorite show of this year?
You recommended to me the show, A Black Lady Sketch Show from HBO.
Yes.
I really enjoy that, and I know it's your favorite too.
Yes, it's my favorite show of this year as well.
So I honestly, anything with Quinta Brunson is hilarious. So I was in once I saw that she was in it.
I'm not the biggest sketch show person, and that one I just loved it. I love the creativity. I love the ladies. I love that it was something. The entire cast was just very different from anything else that I've seen on TV this year. Favorite remake or reboot?
I'm gonna let you go first on this.
Yes? Okay. I told you I had like a difficult time because some of my favorites did come back. I feel like this was the decade of remakes and reboots. There were so many of them. So many shows tried their hand at them, and some of them were good, but most of them I felt like they failed. I think the best one, and this one is because of how imaginative the new version took place, is One Day at a Time. So One Day at a Time was like a 1970s sitcom about a single mom living with her mother, and they remade it into a modern day version of that show with Latino cast, and the family is Cuban. The show was on Netflix, and I made an entire video about why, like, Netflix canceling the show and the issues that it had, but Pop TV picked it up, so now their new season is gonna be on Pop. Yeah,
Pop picks up a lot of stuff. Like later in this episode, I'm gonna talk about a show that Pop has picked up, but wait on it.
The notable ones would be The Twilight Zone on CBS, because I love the show. Will and Grace on NBC, and Veronica Mars on Hulu. What about you? What has been your favorites?
So I came onto this remake recently. It's called Temptation Island. It's on USA. It's a reality show. But honestly, it was recommended by a friend, and it's honestly about couples who decide to test their relationship by going to Hawaii and tempting each other with being in houses with a bunch of people of the other sex. And it sounds like a recipe for disaster, and it is.
So this show was on first. What was the network?
I think it was on Fox first.
Okay.
I think, but don't quote me on that. I think it was originally on Fox. They did 3 seasons. Then they stopped. I can't remember when. It was probably early 2000s. And they came back like this year.
Most binged show.
Okay. Honestly, I haven't been watching a lot of actual TV. So I've been binging a lot this year. But one of my favorite binges was La Reina del Sur. It's also been remade into Queen of the South in the US. She ends up going from Mexico to Spain and becoming like the biggest drug dealer in Spain, and just doing boss bitch shit, you know. And
it was originally on
Telemundo,
and now you can watch it on Netflix. So I think The Office was like the biggest one that I've binge watched, and then I always have either like Parks and Recs, Friends, or Charmed in the background as well. But I think The Office, that I can really recall, I think this year, I'm watching it right now, and I think this is my 3rd or 4th time.
I'm like, I've seen like maybe one episode of The Office.
Girl, you have to watch it. Most underrated show, like, and I'm thinking about shows that were canceled too early.
According to the creator, it was meant to only last 3 seasons, but the way it ended was terrible because it felt like you needed another season.
It ended on a cliffhanger?
It ended not exactly on a cliffhanger, but it ended at just a weird, abrupt end. It was just like, what? So that was Penny Dreadful on Showtime. It was a great show. It was very gothic. It brought elements of like Frankenstein and all these gothic characters. And Limitless on CBS, based on the movie. Never watched the movie, but the show was so good, and it only lasted 1 season.
I was very surprised that you didn't pick one of our favorite shows together, which was Timeless from NBC.
I liked Timeless. They gave it a decent end. They like came to an end, even though it ended like too soon. They gave it like a decent ending.
And then, of course, I think everybody can agree, or a lot of people can agree with me, Sense8 on Netflix.
Sense8. I haven't even watched the last episode in like upset. I'm so upset that it ended.
Don't watch it. Just, it's better for you not to know. Like, it's just, it's so upsetting. And the fact that they canceled it on the beginning of the Pride celebration. It's just, it hurt a lot of people, and I think that it could have been a fantastic show. It definitely had a premise that I didn't see before, and it was this like high-end sci-fi show that could have lasted a little bit longer. We are now heading towards our decade's favorite, and I want to say again, there have been a lot of shows that have come and gone and everything, but I feel like I picked these shows because I'm still talking about them.
Yeah.
And even though I want to say that some of my other favorites are something like The Leftovers and Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad, which is on everyone's list.
Yeah.
I want to say that's one of my favorites have been Black anthology series. Those usually don't do well, and it actually did really well on Netflix. And they've definitely sparked a lot of like imagination, like me as a writer.
I'm like,
NBC, my love and hate relationship. They have The Good Place, and I think that there hasn't been a comedy like The Good Place. They really took a risk creating this kind of weird, quirky, but like fantastical, like magical comedy. And I definitely feel like I've learned a lot, and I have had conversations come out of the episodes when you watch the show. You reminded me of Orphan Black, and Orphan Black was definitely something that I binge watched, and I remember like becoming very emotional about it, and I wrote an entire article about how it influenced me and the story and the treatment of women and women's body. And it was I watched it around the same time that we were having this larger discussion in our country about women's rights to choose, and the abortions and women's liberty being threatened. So in that note, I've also really liked The Handmaid's Tale on Hulu. That one I liked because I felt like it another show that created conversation.
Yeah, they did.
And then my last one, I think, and this is just because I still believe it's one of the most accurate representation of Latinas in the U.S. and just Latina culture in the U.S. is Vida on Stars.
But for my decade, I'm gonna start with Orphan Black as well.
Yes.
Honestly, my favorite thing about Orphan Black was Tatiana Maslany's portray. She portrayed at least 10 different unique characters. Downton Abbey, which was on ITV. Honestly, I loved this show. It was also on PBS, Masterpiece. But I don't know how many people really like this show, but I loved it. It was such a period piece about the England in the years leading up to the World War, during the World War, a little bit after the World War. I think it was World War I, probably. And they also came out with a movie this year, which honestly the movie was great. Schitt's Creek. Like,
you were the one who got me into
honestly, Schitt's Creek is one of the that's the show on Pop that I was talking about earlier. Schitt's Creek is the funny, as I said, one of the funniest shows I've watched in a long time. There's The Americans on FX, which I haven't finished The Americans, but honestly, The Americans is one of the like best shows I've seen from FX. Like, there's a lot of stuff from FX, but for me,
yeah, you like that network and the Sci-Fi network too.
Yeah, I'm like FX. That show is just like really. It's about two Russian spies in the 80s, with the fact that they're an all-American family. Their kids don't know they're spies. Their next door neighbor's an FBI agent. They have to like navigate doing all this American typical family stuff and doing their spy mission. My next one and my last one is Outlander on Stars.
I just started Outlander because of Sasha.
Outlander is it's also a period piece. It's about
it's like multi-genre too, which I wish I would have seen it earlier, but it is multi-genre. Like, you can't really categorize it because it's like
one, but it is about time travel. That's one.
Yeah, it has like some magical elements.
Yeah, but
historical fiction.
There's a little bit of actual, not as exactly historical, but it's based on historical events. You see different aspects. Now they're in colonial America. Like, it's a very interesting
and it's
show.
A love story.
Yeah, the love story is one of the best parts.
We want to know what you guys watched this past couple of years and what has been your favorite show. It doesn't have to be like the show like everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
Because I feel like everybody gets influenced by different things. And for me, I think the shows that I mentioned, storytelling wise, they were just very different.
Yeah.
The way the story was told was different. And me as a writer, I get influenced by storytelling like that. And I feel like we both like the fantasy and sci-fi genre the most, so those are the shows that we
tend to consume.
Thank you so much for watching this last episode. Actually,
yes, thank you for finishing the decade with us.
Yes, and we want to know what your favorite show is of this year and of the decade.
Just post in the comments.
Yes, let us know down below, and thank you so much. And kind of like Happy New Year.
Yeah, happy holidays, whatever holiday you celebrate. Happy New Year. We'll see you in the new year with our new shows.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.